At the peak of the most demanding season of my career, I was running an 8-figure SaaS business, growing a YouTube channel toward its first million subscribers, starting two new teams from scratch, all while being a husband, a dad of a 2-month-old, and an 8-year-old, and keeping up with my daily workouts. The only reason it's been possible, I learned how to manage my time. But it wasn't always like this. Before I learned this, I felt trapped in constant reactive mode. I was constantly replying to Slack messages, emails, Zoom calls, new tasks, and other people's demands. I'll show you exactly what I started doing and the way I started thinking to stop feeling overwhelmed and powerless, and then successfully lead an 8-figure business, creating content for hundreds of thousands of people and still having a life. And honestly, the way I start my day is the most important thing to me. This is not about morning rituals or that gibberish you hear everywhere. This is how I get a clear picture of what matters the most. And this is when I want to know my top priorities, my nice to haves, and any communication I need to run with my team. Then I align all of that with my energy levels during the day. What drains me goes later. What requires my focus comes first. It's been almost 8 years since I don't say the words, I don't have the time. Because time is a scarce resource, but most of it is actually under your control. And before we dive into the deeper principles, let me give you one tool that instantly creates clarity when you're feeling overwhelmed. It's the Eisenhower Matrix. It has 4 quadrants, but the two criteria here are urgent versus important. In the top left, you're going to see urgent and important. Do now. This is firefighting, urgent, high impact tasks. At the top right, it's not urgent and important. Decide, time block or schedule. This is where your best long term and strategic work lives. The bottom left, the urgent but not important. Delegate it. It matters, but just not for you. The bottom right, not important and not urgent. With this one, ignore. This is busy work, doom scrolling, distractions, and social media. When you don't know what to do first, this matrix does the thinking for you. And if something has to get dropped today, it makes sure it's not the thing that will burn you tomorrow. That's the surface level, but the real shift came when I built a daily flow and productivity principles around it. And if you want more no fluff tools like this to get out of reactive mode, hit the subscribe button now so you don't miss the next videos I got planned. So part 1 is my daily flow. Here's how I actually start my day step by step. Step 1 is take inventory of projects. I have a complete list of projects that I'm currently involved in and need to take care of. When I start my day, I want to go over each one of those. A habit that I have is leaving the highest priority projects at the top of that list, and that way these are the first ones I get to see. Step 2 is define the next actions. As I review each project, I want to know what are the next steps that I need to take to move them closer to the finish line. To do that, I think about what completed looks like for this project. If I were to call this project done, what would need to have happened? I don't write down this definition for projects because a lot of times this definition changes, and actively thinking about it keeps my execution sharp. I'll also take a second to figure out if I'm overcomplicating that project and if I'm not putting too many steps in front of just getting shit done. Then I'll take note of the next action I'm taking with this project and add it to my to-do list for the day. My to-do list is ordered by priority with my most important tasks at the top. And a trap you want to avoid is only thinking of baby steps and procrastinating the conclusion of a project. If you need to blast through this project for 3 hours and figure out a lot of things as you execute it, do that. And don't take me wrong, sometimes the best thing is to take a baby step. But if you're only moving one bit of critical projects towards the conclusion every day, you'll find yourself moving too slow. And if things get tricky, creating more steps to avoid getting to the meat of it is not going to help. Step 3, block focus time. The worst problem for anyone working remote is constant interruption. And you need to realize that you don't have to be responsive to anything or anyone and everything that comes your way at all times. There's time to do deep work. There's time to respond to your team's messages, your email, your mom, or your spouse. 20 years ago, no one was walking around with a phone in their pocket, and people are doing just fine. The easiest way to move slow is spreading yourself too thin. When you review your projects list and you know that an important project requires your undivided attention for some time, block it in your calendar. After all, if something is critical, you should work uninterruptedly for hours on end to move as fast as possible with that project. Blocking time and removing every single distraction, especially meetings and messages, allows you to give yourself permission to do the work that matters. So leave your phone somewhere else and pretend like it doesn't exist for a bit. Trust me, no one is gonna die because of it. Unless you're an ER physician, and this is where people get in touch with an emergency. When you block focus time, treat it as you would treat a meeting. You just do it. Step 4, delegate or defer. Not everything needs to be done now or by you. If the action you need to take can wait, defer it to another time. Put it in your task list for the next day or add a time block to your calendar. Think about the Eisenhower Matrix when making such calls, and you should be perfectly fine. And if the action for a project can be done by someone else, communicate that immediately if possible. You explain what's the definition of done for that task and delegate it to someone else on your team. Unless you're absolutely the only person in the universe that should do it, keep your mind open to delegation. Step 5, inbox capture. A mistake I made early in my career was thinking that I had to deal with everything that came my way in the moment they hit me. New message, reply. Incoming client request, start doing it. Incoming call, take it. The problem was that I was constantly dropping tasks I was doing to take care of the inbound stuff. Today, I know that I don't want to forget about incoming new tasks, requests, ideas, or information. So anything new that comes in, emails, Slack, random ideas, goes into my inbox list. I'll process that later so I don't derail my current focus. And just using these 5 steps every day takes care of 80% of all my productivity issues for me. If this kind of tactical breakdown is helping you get out of reactive mode, hit subscribe. I share these frameworks every week for creators who want to perform at a higher level. But here's the thing, these tactics, they only work because they're grounded in deeper principles. Without those, they collapse. So part 2 is core principles. I'll give you the 6 big ones that changed everything for me. Principle number 1 is not everything is equally important. You need to learn how to say no. There is such a thing as priorities. Prior comes from Latin. It means first. Priorities need to take precedence over everything else. If you don't take care of your priorities, things don't go well. Your client work doesn't get done, and you don't get paid. You don't take care of your finances regularly, and you go bankrupt. You don't go to the gym, and you start getting sick and fatigued all the time. You don't plan your retirement and have to work until you're 90 years old. That's why we take care of what's important first. If you try to do it all, you guarantee failure. Saying no protects your yeses. And I say that because in some of my most demanding seasons, I had to lead a very unbalanced life. Writing 16 video outlines in a weekend instead of staying with my family. Running meetings with my teams for a full day instead of taking care of YouTube. Otherwise, they would lose clarity on what they had to accomplish and the business would lose money. During the many seasons, you will have to recalibrate what's important on a day-to-day basis. That's why starting the day with that process is so important. Principle number 2, protect focus time like your life depends on it. Every day, you will have to be selective of what you decide to do and how to protect the time to do it. Every day, this will mean deciding not to do a bunch of other things, which will make space for important stuff. More often than not, important tasks and projects take time and focus. So you need to block important tasks in your calendar to make sure you're reserving the right amount of time to get them done, and stick to that religiously if possible. Do similar types of tasks in batches to stay focused on one type of task at a time and do them faster. If you don't protect your priorities ruthlessly and forbid everything else from getting in your way, you'll be back in reactive mode very quickly. The same way I had to block entire days for meetings sometimes, I also had to block incoming notifications for 4 hours straight. The important thing here is that I didn't feel guilty for not providing instant responses on Slack or not taking a call from someone on the team or replying all my emails quickly. I knew that if I didn't focus on these activities, things would crash and burn. And I knew that ultimately, everyone else on my team would suffer if that happened. Principle number 3 is align with your energy. If I know that I'm feeling the most energized in the mornings, I'll time block that time in the day to get the hardest projects done during that time. That's when I do deep work. Low energy afternoons, that's when I do lighter tasks, email or quick communications or calls. When you match the task to the energy, you leverage what your body is telling you. You know yourself well enough to avoid playing against your own nature. So design your day to follow your natural inclinations and you'll have a much easier time doing the stuff you need. Principle number 4 is don't rely on your memory. Capture everything. Your brain is the worst inbox. It leaks. Write it down, add it to your system, process that later. The simple act of capturing frees your mind to focus. Every time something comes inbound and you don't save it somewhere, your brain enters problem-solving mode and starts distracting you. And this applies to new ideas you have or something you just remembered and you need to communicate with someone else. As soon as those things come to you, capture them and deal with them later. This will open the extra space your brain needs to take care of the stuff that matters. Principle number 5, you don't need to make the same decision twice. You don't decide to go to the gym every day. You've already decided once. Habits, they save decision energy. Small repeated actions build those big results you aspire. When you make a decision that you know is right, stick to that decision unless some game-changing new information just emerged. For me, I've already stopped doing my daily project reviews before, and my life got chaotic and messy. I've already stopped going to the gym regularly, and my back started hurting again. My immune system got worse, and I got sick more often. And my overall mental availability got lower, my mood was terrible. So I know that going to the gym daily isn't optional. I know that doing my daily project review is what keeps me from going insane. So there are these decisions in life that I don't need to be making again. I just do what I already decided is best for me. Principle number 6, intentional downtime is fuel. If you're always on, you'll drift back into reactive mode. Just because once in your life you've been able to get a ton of shit done, working 14 hours in a day, that doesn't mean this is the way you should lead your life. Life has its deeply imbalanced seasons. Sometimes I have to put in a ton of work to get through a challenging circumstance at work. Sometimes I have a really tough month or week, and those are the times when I need to be the most intentional about my downtime. Going to bed earlier, not forcing myself to read that book or watch that course in the night. Those are acts of kindness with myself that I know will pay off. And if things are too intense for too long, I take a couple of days to refuel. Heck, I've even took a week's break to recover from times like these. Creating that white space, taking a walk, taking a bath, taking time with people outside my usual circle, that kind of stuff resets your brain for creativity and strategy. You need intervals and diversity, and you don't need to make it a big deal. Just take your dog for a 15-minute walk. Invite that friend to have a coffee and chat for an hour or two. Those things make you more productive than if you're just pushing through another hour pretending like you're actually accomplishing something. And if you're seeing yourself in these challenges, overwhelmed, too many projects, constant distractions, hit subscribe. My whole channel is built to help high performers like you stay effective without burning out. Part 3, my capture and review system. All of those things that I said come together in what I call the capture and review system. Here's how it works. Every new input goes into an inbox list, one place. Could be a notebook, it could be a Notion space, whatever you decide. Once a day, I process everything that's there and I decide whether I'm going to do it, I'm delegating it, I'm deferring it, or I'm deleting it. Once a week, I zoom out. What projects are still open? What does done look for each of these projects? What can be eliminated? Think of it this way. Your brain is actually terrible at tracking open loops. But once you externalize them, you stop reacting and you start leading. That's why, even in the busiest season of my life, I never felt truly overwhelmed. I had clarity on what mattered and peace about what didn't. But here's the truth: if your system isn't aligned with your bigger goals, you'll just get faster at running in circles. Your next step is learning how to free even more of your time by delegating. That's why in my next video, I'm sharing the lessons I learned from spending over $169,000 on Upwork freelancers and how that freed me to scale faster. We'll show you how to leverage your time even more by bringing in other people to help in areas that aren't the best use of your time. And that will allow your business to grow with you and not in spite of you. Click here to watch that now.